Welcome to the Medal of Honor induction ceremony in honor of Staff Sergeant Clinton R. Romesha. Staff Sergeant Romesha was awarded our nation's highest and most prestigious award for valor by the President of the United States, the Medal of Honor. This afternoon, he will formally be inducted into the Pentagon's most sacred place, the Hall of Heroes. Our hosts for today's ceremony are the Secretary of Defense, the Honorable Leon E. Panetta, the Secretary of the Army, the Honorable John M. McHugh, the Chief of Staff of the Army, General Ray Odierno, and the Sergeant Major of the Army, Raymond F. Chandler III. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the arrival of the official party and remain standing for the singing of our national anthem by Master Sergeant Antonio Giuliano and the invocation which will be delivered by Chaplain Matthew Weathers.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets roared glad, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Let us pray. Almighty and gracious God, it is with humble gratitude for your steadfast presence in our nation that we enter into this historic moment to recognize the leadership, courage, and fortitude of one man, a symbol of so many who selflessly ran headlong into the fray, that he and his fellow Black Knights would regain and hold the line. In this sacred Hall of Heroes, we were reminded that Roe is representative of and surrounded by the best of what this nation has to offer its sons and its daughters. You've created such individuals, and you've instilled in their hearts an undying devotion to their fellow soldiers. You've given them the ability to walk through the valley of the shadow of death, overcoming fear by confidence in your abiding presence. You are continually shepherding these soldiers and so many thousands more into a lush green valley of healing and restoration, leading them beside still waters, rebuilding their souls. May you bless the hearts and minds of his family with peace and tranquility and grant them rest. May the reunion of friends with whom he endured the battle grant him comfort and support. And Father, as we turn our hearts and minds towards you, would you in turn shed your grace on us once again? For it is in your holy name we pray. Amen.
Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, the Chief of Staff of the Army.
Good afternoon. Thanks everyone for being here today. It's so great to see so many people turn out to pay tribute to Staff Sergeant Romesha. He joins a distinguished lineage of national heroes, among them Lieutenant General retired Robert Foley, Colonel retired Harvey Barnum Jr., and First Lieutenant retired Brian Thacker, who are all here today. And if you all could please stand up, please. Thank you so much for being here. Staff Sergeant Romesha embodies the essence of a soldier and represents what every man and woman who dons this uniform strives to be. An individual has earned the trust of all whom he associates with. One who possesses a humility and selflessness that we all respect. One who embraces esprit de corps and routinely demonstrates a dedication to his profession with moral and physical courage that epitomizes the ethos of the American soldier. In the face of imminent danger, he never quit. He always put his mission first. He never accepted defeat. Above all else, he never left his fallen comrades. Just as he was there for them that day, his band of brothers from Bravo Troop were there for him. And they are here today for him. Staff Sergeant Romesha reminded us yesterday that the joy of earning the Medal of Honor comes from the recognition of soldiers doing their jobs on distant battlefields. But he also said it is countered by the constant reminder of the loss of our battle buddies, my soldiers, my friends. On October 3rd, 2009, 8 soldiers made the ultimate sacrifice, but their presence is felt in the hearts of everyone here. We remember Private First Class Kevin Thompson, Sergeant Michael Scusa, Sergeant Joshua Kirk, Sergeant Christopher Griffin, Staff Sergeant Justin Gallegos, Staff Sergeant Vernon Martin, Sergeant Joshua Hart, and Specialist Stephen Mace. I would also like to acknowledge the Gold Star family members who are here with us. If you could please stand. Now I'd like to welcome some distinguished guests. Secretary of Defense Leon Panetta and his wife Sylvia, the Honorable Jessica Wright, the Undersecretary of Defense for Personnel and Readiness, Secretary John McHugh, the Secretary of the Army, Representative Kevin Kramer, Member of Congress from North Dakota, Representative Tulsi Gabbard, Member of Congress from Hawaii, General Retired Gordon Sullivan, Sergeant Major of the Army Raymond Chandler, and a special welcome to Staff Sergeant Romesha's family and friends, his wife Tammy, and their 3 children, Desi, Gwen, and Colin, his father Gary, his mother-in-law Diane, and his mother Tish. His 2 brothers, his stepmother Diane, and his mother Tish. His 2 brothers, former Marine Preston Romesha and Air Force Master Sergeant Travis Romesha. And you can see the family has a type of service to them, and he's grown up understanding the necessity of service. His 2 sisters, Tanya Hal and Cammie Wakeland, and all of their families. His grandmother, Loy Cadona, Tammy's parents, Kevin and Lauren Small, and his grandfather-in-law, Michael Small. Thank you all so much for being here. It means so much to all of us. And I know it means so much to Clint and Tammy. It was May 2009 that Staff Sergeant Romesha deployed to Afghanistan as a section sergeant in Bravo Troop, 3rd Squadron, 61st Cavalry Regiment, the 4th Brigade Combat Team of the 4th Infantry Division. A small contingent of 53 U.S. soldiers with a platoon-size element of Afghanistan National Army soldiers were tasked with the incredibly challenging mission of securing an austere outpost surrounded by dominating terrain. Described as being at the bottom of a fishbowl, Combat Outpost Keating was surrounded on all four sides by the Hindu Kush Mountains. The pre-deployment training Staff Sergeant Romesha and his fellow mountain warriors conducted in the mountains of Colorado ended up being critical to their success in Afghanistan. The Black Knights had nearly daily contact with the enemy, but few could have known what would transpire on October 3rd. Just before dawn, in a highly coordinated attack, more than 400 Mujahideen fighters surrounded the entire perimeter of the small outpost. A deafening roar of RPGs, mortars, small arms, automatic and sniper fire rained down from all four mountaintop sides of Command Outpost Keating. As the sobering reality set in on the men who were surrounded, outmanned, and outgunned, even Staff Sergeant Romesha morbidly joked in his typical fashion that it doesn't look good. With incoming fire coming from all directions, Staff Sergeant Romesha didn't have time to contemplate the odds against him taking action. In his Herculean effort to evade enemy fire, he killed an enemy machine gun team, was engaging a second when he struck with shrapnel from an RPG that hit just feet away. In the face of death and the fury of the attack, he continuously risked his life for the men on his left and the men on his right. Over the next 8 hours, Clint Romesha was at the center of the battle, with his every action going above and beyond the call of duty. He orchestrated battlefield movements, directed and placed effective air and fire support, and provided covering fire so the casualties could be evacuated, all while leading his team to fight back against the unrelenting enemy. His calm demeanor in the middle of the firefight led his troop commander, Captain Stoney Portis, to note that it sounded like he was simply ordering coffee at a drive-thru. With a position infiltrated by enemy fires, he compelled his leadership to take back this outpost. He rallied his weary troops, motivating them to fight by leading from the front. One of his soldiers, Sergeant Tom Rasmussen, said that Staff Sergeant Romesha was a leader that would never ask his men to do something that he would not do first. Under his leadership, they launched the counterattack that turned the tide of the battle. Greatly outnumbered, those men, those brother in arms, in the truest sense of the word, fought to save each other. By the time this day-long battle was over, 80% of the buildings and equipment on Cop Keating were destroyed. 8 valiant soldiers had given their lives in the act of ultimate sacrifice for their nation, for their unit, for their comrades. Bravo Troop became one of the most decorated cavalry troops in the Army, earning 1 Medal of Honor, 9 Silver Stars, 18 Bronze Star Medals with Valor, 3 Bronze Stars, and 37 Army Commendation Medals with Valor, and 27 Purple Hearts. I'd like the men of Bravo Troop to please stand and be recognized. Today, as we induct Staff Sergeant Romesha into the famed Hall of Heroes, he joins the rare fraternity of military service members in the Medal of Honor Society. They have demonstrated uncommon valor and extraordinary courage under fire. Of being awarded the nation's highest military decoration, Staff Sergeant Romesha said that this medal isn't for me. This medal is for all the great things the platoon and the troops did that day. His humility, honor, leadership, integrity, personal courage, and selfless service represent what is best about our soldiers and our Army. Staff Sergeant Romesha's concern for his fellow soldiers, His conspicuous gallantry and his intrepidity at the risk of his life, above and beyond the call of duty, make him a national hero with a lasting legacy. Today we honor Clinton, a man of character, of conviction, and of courage. And by honoring him, we honor those heroes who fought so selflessly by his side, and all of our soldiers who have raised their right hand to defend this country and defend our ideals. God bless all of you for coming today. God bless America. The strength of our nation is our Army. The strength of our Army is our soldiers. The strength of our soldiers is our families, and that's what makes us Army strong. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Secretary of the Army.
Good afternoon. I have to tell you, having the honor yesterday of attending the ceremonies of the White House, listening to the very eloquent remarks of the President, today listening to the Chief of Staff, and knowing I'll be followed by the Secretary of Defense, I kind of feel like that old joke, like, you know, Zsa Zsa Gabor's eighth husband on the wedding night, and that you're really happy to be there. Pretty much know what's expected of you, but you're not sure you can make it interesting. You think about it, it'll come around. But whether I'm interesting or not is not the important fact. The important fact is that all of you are here to share in an extraordinary moment. And it's particularly special that we're joined by our great leader here in the Pentagon, Mr. Secretary, Mrs. Panetta. Thank you so much for being here. Chief, you didn't mention your beautiful bride. We're thrilled that she's here as well. Sergeant Major, distinguished members of Congress, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Dempsey, welcome. All of the leaders, both uniform and civilian, of the Pentagon, and most importantly, of course, Staff Sergeant Clint Romesha, his beautiful bride Tammy, and as the Chief very amply recounted, their many, many family members and many, many friends. And to all of you again, welcome. We're so thrilled to have this chance. This is a very proud and historic day, certainly one for the Army, but one for the nation as well, because it's one in which we welcome another American soldier into what is a very elite company of our nation's Hall of Heroes. But as the Chief said, as important as these moments and these ceremonies are, it's important to note as well that we're joined by the family, friends of other heroes of the Black Knights Troop, those who fought that day and laid down their lives, whose valor and sacrifice are the very bedrock upon which this nation has been built. Make no mistake, they are men that, had they never served, had they never put on the uniform of this great nation, they would have left these United States a far, far lesser place. And I'd like to again ask our Gold Star families to please rise in recognition for the great sacrifice that their families have made as well. Thank you for the great sacrifice that you, your families, and your loved ones have made. You will never be forgotten in these halls or in this nation. Winston Churchill once remarked that while a medal glitters, it also casts a shadow. And no medal in American history cast a greater shadow than that of the Medal of Honor. And it is recognition of uncommon courage, a tribute to extraordinary valor, and its size and its weight are not measured in inches, not measured in ounces, but rather in deeds and in history. And as the chief again noted, we are honored that some who have walked in that shadow, who indeed have cast their own significant shadows, have joined us today. Lieutenant General retired Robert Foley, Colonel retired Harvey Barnum Jr., and First Lieutenant retired Brian Thacker. I won't ask them to stand again, not because they're undeserving of the recognition, but I know what it is to get old. And guys, I don't want to wear you out, but it's so wonderful of you to join us, and again, welcome one into your elite units. Thank you for your valid service and your great sacrifice, gentlemen. God bless you. I would respectfully suggest, Staff Sergeant Romesha, that you would do well to draw upon the experience of these three great gentlemen and their inspiration as you navigate the days and months ahead as the newest member of this most select, exclusive, and honored group. They, like you, are extraordinary, and it is most fitting that you stand together. Now, I know this has been a week of whirlwind activity for you, Clint, and of course for Tammy, your children, parents, and all the family and friends, and I think it's very important that you share this time together as a family, because I suspect that's where a lot of your strength came from, Clint, from your family, particularly from the strength that Tammy provided at home, and is what enabled you to find a great deal of the courage you have demonstrated on the battlefield and the ability to lead against such overwhelming odds. Now, Clint and Tammy are what we call, where I hail from back in the rural parts of New York State, as high school sweethearts. Well, junior high, actually. Now, Clint was in 8th grade and Tammy was in 7th. I wouldn't say that Clint was exactly robbing the cradle, but he was dating a younger woman. And something must have worked, because as the President mentioned yesterday, today is indeed their 13th wedding anniversary. I'm not sure that it was orchestrated, but it may be worth noting there are 13 stars festooned on the ribbon from which this great medal hails. So, something of fate and fortune there. It sounds like an opera. But congratulations to you both. Now, I don't like to go into rumor, but I'm told, so I'm not sure this is true, that when Tammy asked what Clint planned to get her for their anniversary, he said a free trip to D.C. I'm not going to ask if that's true, but I will say, Tammy, it's none of my business. I want to admit that, but if I were you, I wouldn't let him off the hook quite that easily. I want to let you in on what people say is one of the many, many benefits of being here in the Pentagon. It's the largest office complex in the world, and you may have noticed there's a few stores around the corridors. There's a drugstore, CVS, in case you didn't get a card. But we also have a chocolate shop, we have a florist, and we have a jeweler. And they're all just a few short steps away. So after the ceremony, Clint, take the lady shopping. She's earned it. So again, congratulations. I've had a chance to break bread with Clint and Tammy and their families, and there's no question that the two of them have a very special bond and are tremendous partners. And if there was any doubt of that, I think Desi and Gwen and Colin are evidence of that love and devotion, and in Colin's case, evidence of the energy that comes from that great pairing. Clint has said numerous times how blessed he's been to have the opportunity to lean on Tammy, and how together they came through the strain of deployments and the heartache of losing friends. Clint calls Tammy his anchor point, his base, always pointing him to true north. Well, other than the Navy-like references, it's jointness. We teach that in this building. Good call, Clint. But other than that, it's clear demonstration of the devotion that he he has to Tammy and their commitment to one another. And it is powerful, and it is truly heartfelt. It's also important to note we should also be grateful that so many in his great family have served our nation as well. It seems that military service in their ranks is a way of life, and that you all did more in your family than enlist. You answered a calling. And Clint, just as your grandfather did in World War II, your dad did in Vietnam, and you and your brothers, Travis and Preston, have done as well, fighting for and serving your country in time of war. And that's just an incredible family legacy. Truly, thank you all for your service and your devotion to liberty. As I was preparing for today's ceremony, I had an opportunity to watch some of the interviews that Clint had done before this week's event, and I've had the true privilege now to take part in a few of these Medal of Honor ceremonies, including those of Sergeants Pitre and Junta. And listening to some of Clint's words during those interviews, one of the things that truly stood out really placed him in the ranks of those who went before. A tremendous humility, an insistence that this honor, this medal, is not just for him, but truly belongs to those with whom he served and fought. And as we've noted, some who tragically never came home. And Clint said he'll wear the Medal of Honor for soldiers who supported him, the friends he knew, the good times they had, and the hard times they had. And as the chief noted, he declared as well, he won't wear the medal simply for himself, but for all the soldiers, as he put it, past, present, and future, and for the spouses who stick with them through thick and thin. And as the chief introduced, some of the soldiers that stuck together through thick and thin are here today, Clint's battle buddies from the men of Black Knight's Troop, and who on that day in October 2009 stood shoulder to shoulder in defense of their mission and in defense of each other. And gentlemen, please stand again and be recognized as Clint's battle buddies. And thank you so much for being here. I mentioned that great champion of freedom, Winston Churchill, in my opening comments, and let me close by again using his statement that medals, indeed this Medal of Honor, cast a great shadow over those who earned it. An ever-present reminder of battles fought and lost and conspicuous gallantry, risking your own life above and beyond the call of duty. All of those things indeed merit our nation's gratitude. It's a shadow that you will walk in together, cast even larger by those with whom you serve, those who supported you, the friends you knew, the soldiers, the spouses and families, past, present, and future. Clint, you earned this medal. You earned it through your bravery, but you also earned it through your character. And we're so very, very proud to have this opportunity today and to share in this moment that you earned. And Clint and Tammy, family and friends, congratulations on this great honor. Thank you so much for your service, your devotion to duty, the country. And God bless you, God bless our Army, and God bless these United States. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Secretary of Defense.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. It's a tremendous honor to have the opportunity to pay tribute to this newest Medal of Honor winner. I want to acknowledge all the senior leaders of the department, both in the military and civilian side. I also want to pay tribute, obviously, to our Medal of Honor winners that are here. Thank you for your presence. We are honored to have you here at the Pentagon. And I want to particularly thank all of the people who've come out to this ceremony to pay tribute to this hero. Clint Romesha, a great American hero, a great American patriot. And I want to welcome, in particular, his family, the Romesha family, for coming here and joining all of us in paying tribute to the courage not only of Clint, but to the patriotism of his family and their willingness to support someone that had to put his life on the line. It's been my experience that every warrior who's out there who puts his or her life on the line, that behind them is a family that supports and shares in the many sacrifices that come with serving this country. That love, that support, that sacrifice is provided by the families of our servicemen and women, and it is central to the strength of our military. We simply could not do the job that we are asked to do without the support of our families, without their love, without their willingness to sacrifice while we have to respond to the duty that the country calls us to perform. Throughout America, families quietly serve as a critical foundation for our nation's security. We could not protect this country. We could not keep it safe without those families that are willing to support loved ones who are called to duty. So I thank you. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for your sacrifice. I thank you for your love and all you have done on behalf of the great soldiers, warriors who have fought on behalf of America. I've said before that I believe that a new greatest generation of Americans has stepped forward after 9/11. A new generation of patriots that answered the call to serve, to fight our country's wars. This generation has endured enormous hardships, and they have done it with unflinching courage. I know that it wasn't too long ago that some just thought that, we could identify one or two of those greatest generations that served this country. But my view is that, frankly, every generation that puts their life on the line for America is the greatest generation. And that's true for those who have fought and died since 9/11. They've dealt with lengthy separations from friends and family, repeated deployments, time and time again, to austere battlefields in distant lands. They've witnessed the horrors of modern warfare, seeing their comrades in arms, their closest friends, horribly maimed and, yes, killed by the scourge of IEDs and the scourge of an enemy whose purpose is to kill Americans. Yet day after day, they strapped on their body armor, they shouldered their equipment, they picked up their weapons, and they went back out on patrol in the streets and alleyways of Iraq and in the mountains and deserts of Afghanistan. For 10 long years, they have fought because they believe that America is worth fighting for, that Americans still serve as a shining example for that world in which we have the most precious values of all, the values of freedom and equality and justice and democracy. The young men and women who have served and who continue to serve on the front lines represent, I believe, the very best our nation has to offer. They exemplify a devotion to country before self. They exemplify a willingness to fight, and yes, sometimes to die, in order to protect their fellow citizens. They exemplify a determination to keep our enemies far from our shores, far from our homes, far from our families. And as part of that determination, the United States is committed to preventing Afghanistan from once again becoming a safe haven for al-Qaeda, to prevent it from ever being able to reestablish a base, it or its affiliates, establish a base from which to attack the United States of America. That's the fundamental mission that has us fighting in Afghanistan. And that's why Staff Sgt. Romesha and his fellow soldiers from the Army's 4th Infantry Division were deployed to a remote outpost, a tough place to be, high in the mountains of Nuristan Province, Afghanistan. That's what brought them to that place on October 3rd, 2009. That morning, more than 400 heavily armed Taliban insurgents hid behind trees and boulders on the mountain slopes that surrounded combat outpost Keating. They were no doubt confident in their ability to drown that small base in a barrage of heavy weapons, of heavy fire, and then overrun the outnumbered defenders. That the Taliban failed to overtake combat outpost Keating is, with those numbers, a testament to the bravery, the heroism, the warrior spirit of the 50 American soldiers who fought to save it. They failed because of brave young men, such as Clint Romesha, a combat veteran who had already served 2 tours of duty in Iraq, and who distinguished himself above and beyond the call of duty on that day. They failed because he and his fellow soldiers were determined to hold that post. And Clint later put it to a reporter, "That was our America right there. That was our America right there. We own that. And we weren't going to let anybody come and take it." Today, as we honor Clint's heroic actions, we also honor the memory of the 8 American soldiers who died that day defending their post. The toughest thing, I've said this often, and it's true, the toughest thing I have to do as Secretary of Defense is to write condolence letters to the families of those who have given their lives for this country. And I struggle deeply to find the right words that can provide some degree of comfort to those families. The message I try to send is that as tough as it is to lose a loved one, perhaps there is some comfort to know that they gave their lives for this country, and that they are heroes, and that they are patriots, and that they will never, never be forgotten. Now, as I prepare to step down as Secretary, I think above all that those letters to family members that I've written over the past 19 months, I think about each of those families that I wrote to. And I think about the lives that were cut short in the prime of their life. The promises, the dreams, the aspirations each of those fallen heroes carried with them. It is my fervent hope that they, along with all of those Americans who have given their last full measure over these past 10 years, are not simply regarded as a number, that they are remembered as individuals, each with their own unique story, each with a family that they left behind, each with friends that miss them deeply. It is my hope that we will forever honor the sacrifice and carefully weigh when we send American young men and women into battle, and know full well that when we do it because we love the United States of America. Clint Romesha, on behalf of a grateful nation, I want to thank you for your service and for your bravery, and for the fact that you fought because the United States of America and the safety of all of our citizens were at stake. You fought well, you fought bravely, and your courage is now a part of American history. God bless you, and God bless all of our men and women in uniform.
Secretary McHugh, General Odierno, Sergeant Major of the Army Chandler, and Staff Sergeant and Mrs. Romesha will now join Secretary Panetta on stage for the induction ceremony. The President of the United States of America, authorized by Act of Congress, has awarded in the name of Congress the Medal of Honor to then Staff Sergeant Clinton R. Romesha, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Clinton R. Romesha distinguished himself by acts of gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty, while serving as a section leader with Bravo Troop, 3rd Squadron, 61st Cavalry Regiment, 4th Brigade Combat Team, 4th Infantry Division, during combat operations against an armed enemy at Combat Outpost Keating, Kamdesh District, Nuristan Province, Afghanistan, on October 3, 2009. On that morning, Staff Sergeant Romesha and his comrades awakened to an attack by an estimated 400 enemy fighters occupying the high ground on all 4 sides of the complex. Employing concentrated fire from recoilless rifles, rocket-propelled grenades, anti-intense enemy fire to conduct a reconnaissance of the battlefield and seek reinforcements from the barracks before returning to action with the support of an assistant gunner. Staff Sergeant Romesha took out an enemy machine gun team and, while engaging a second, the generator he was using for cover was struck by a rocket-propelled grenade, inflicting him with shrapnel wounds. Undeterred by his injuries, Staff Sergeant Romesha continued to fight, and upon the arrival of another soldier to aid him and the assistant gunner, he again rushed through the exposed avenue to assemble additional soldiers. Staff Sergeant Romesha then mobilized a 5-man team and returned to the fight equipped with a sniper rifle. With complete disregard for his own safety, Staff Sergeant Romesha continually exposed himself to heavy enemy fire as he moved confidently about the battlefield, engaging and destroying multiple enemy targets, including 3 Taliban fighters who had breached the compound outpost's perimeter. While orchestrating a successful plan to secure and reinforce key points of the battlefield, Staff Sergeant Romesha maintained radio communication with the Tactical Operations Center. As the enemy forces attacked with even greater ferocity, unleashing a barrage of rocket-propelled grenades and recoilless rifle rounds, Staff Sergeant Romesha identified the point of attack and directed air support to destroy over 30 enemy fighters. After receiving reports that seriously injured soldiers were at a distant battle position, Staff Sergeant Romesha and his team provided covering fire to allow the injured soldiers to safely reach the aid station. Upon receipt of orders to proceed to the next objective, his team pushed forward 100 meters under overwhelming enemy fire to recover and prevent the enemy fighters from taking the bodies of their fallen comrades. Staff Sergeant Romesha's heroic actions throughout the day-long battle were critical in suppressing an enemy that had far greater numbers. His extraordinary efforts gave Bravo Troop the opportunity to regroup, reorganize, and prepare for the counterattack that allowed the troop to account for its personnel and secure combat outpost Keating. Staff Sergeant Romesha's discipline and extraordinary heroism above and beyond the call of duty reflect great credit upon himself, Bravo Troop, 3rd Squadron, 61st Cavalry Regiment, 4th Brigade Combat Team, 4th Infantry Division, and the United States Army. The War on Terrorism plaque will now be unveiled, inducting Staff Sergeant Clinton R. Romesha into the Hall of Heroes. The plaque will now be unveiled, inducting Staff Sergeant Clinton R. Romesha into the Hall of Heroes. At this time, the Secretary of Defense will present the Medal of Honor flag. On 23 October 2002, Public Law 107-248, Section 8143, established the Medal of Honor flag to recognize service members who have distinguished themselves by gallantry in action above and beyond the call of duty. The Medal of Honor flag commemorates the sacrifice and blood shed for our freedoms and gives emphasis to the Medal of Honor being the highest award for valor by an individual serving in the armed forces of the United States. The light blue color with gold fringe bearing 13 white stars are adapted from the Medal of Honor ribbon. Ladies and gentlemen, Staff Sergeant Romesha.
Secretary Panetta, Secretary McHughes, distinguished Army and Department of Defense leaders, members of Congress, General Dempsey, General Orderiel, General and Flag officers, Sergeant Major Chandler, brothers and sisters in arms, my family, ladies and gentlemen, and my fellow Medal of Honor recipients, good afternoon. That list I just read was about the coolest salutation I've ever said or I'll ever say. On October 3rd, 2009, nearly 400 Taliban fighters surrounded to place me and 52 other members of Bravo Troop 361 Cav called home. 400 Taliban versus 52 American soldiers. Just doesn't seem fair to the Taliban. It was our home, and they simply couldn't have it. But as you know, the Medal of Honor is not often given when things went well on a battlefield. It tends to come at a price, and heroes are often revealed. Some say I'm a hero, but it doesn't make sense because I got to come home with few scars. Eight of my friends did not have that fortune. 8 of my brothers fought to survive for a place we had called home. And more importantly, they fought for their comrades. And in the end, they gave their lives in that defense. Those 8 amazing men, they are the real heroes here today. Vernon Martin, Justin Gallegos, Joshua Hart, Michael Scusa, Joshua Kirk, Christopher Griffin, Stephen Mace, and Kevin Thompson. These aren't just names. They're some of the best troops and my friends. I will wear it with dignity and humility in their honor. I vow to respect their memories and carry each of them in my heart for the rest of my life. It is on their behalf that I stand before you today as just a regular grunt, so wonderfully recognized. Actually, there was no shortage of heroism at Cop Keating that day. And I'm honored that some of the heroes of Cop Keating are here with me today. And since I know they got out of PT yesterday, can the members of Bravo Troop, 3rd Squadron, 61st Cavalry Regiment, 4th Brigade Combat Team stand and be recognized? Thank you, brothers. Thanks for everything. You're the strength of our nation. I'll always be humbled by my actions on that dark day. We're deemed worthy of this recognition, and I promise I will always conduct myself in the most professional manner, appropriated with this honor. In the years to come, I just hope and pray that my fellow soldiers and Medal of Honor recipients will view me truly worthy of this award. I pray that God and my family will always be proud of me. And know this: whether I wear a uniform or civilian attire, I am and will always be a soldier for life. Thank you for sharing this very special day with me and my family, my team members. May God continue to bless America, our military, our veterans, and our families. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing and join in the singing of the Army Song. The words to the Army Song can be found in your program.
First to fight for the right and to build a nation's might, and the army goes rolling along. Proud of all we have done, fighting till the battle's won, and the army goes rolling along. Then it's hi, hi, hey, the army's on its way. Count off the cadence loud and strong, 2, 3, for wherever we go, you will always know that the army goes rolling along. Army strong, hoo!
Ladies and gentlemen, please pause for a moment at your seats to allow the official party to exit the auditorium.